This is Hannibal here from the Hannibal TV on YouTube. Today I have a returning guest, a man whose legacy helped shape the sport of MMA into what it is today. Former UFC champion, the actual first UFC heavyweight champion, former NCAA wrestling champion, Olympian, UFC Hall of Famer, former Pride champion, Mark the Hammer Coleman, who is also sober now. Congratulations.
Damn right. I'm doing a lot better this interview than I was the last one and down in that basement, brother.
That was actually, people love that interview.
Yeah.
Yeah, they they
I
adore
was
that.
I wasn't drinking that day. I hadn't drank yet, but I was still drunk from the day before.
Okay, because some of the people were asking, I'm like, I think I was with him for 6 hours that day, and you
No,
just kept
actually,
going.
you know what? I take that back. I
Yeah.
was sneaking upstairs and chugging a beer about every half hour.
Well, you gave a hell of an interview.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people loved it. It was very detailed. People are still talking about it today. People go back and watch the clips. So, and you're one of the nicest MMA fighters, I gotta say. You have great hospitality.
Well, that's important, man. That's critical. You got to give back. I got sober, and God, took away my obsession to drink, and I found peace. I have no fear really. I have fear, but you got to deal with fear, man. It's how you handle the fear that counts, and give back and help people out. Be nice. I'm so blessed to have the platform I do. I always wanted to be rich and famous, but for all the wrong reasons. Now I'm just glad I got a little fame and a lot of fan base because there's just so many people out there that I can help, and I already have helped. Get sober.
What was the key to it for you?
Um, Rock bottom. Had to hit rock bottom 4 years, 3 months ago. I was living in an extended stay hotel, the shittiest hotel you could ever imagine. The maids didn't come in my room ever for like up to almost a year, and it was a disgusting disaster. I mean, probably, um, my friend Wes Sims, I alienated myself from everybody, but Wes Sims, my good friend, he found out where I was at, and he come knocking on the door. He walked in. I don't even remember him coming in. It was the night before, 10 o'clock at night, and I just laid down in the bed and passed out pretty much. And he said he cleaned 30 bags worth of beer cans out of there that night. And then the next morning he came back, woke me up. I didn't even remember him being there. And well, he talked me into checking into rehab, and um, it's the greatest decision I've ever made in my life. By far, the most important decision I've ever made. And I'm just so glad I did. I checked into rehab, and it was a complete fog. I don't even remember the first month hardly at all. I don't remember checking in, and then about a month in, I remember somebody asking me how's things going, Mark, and I said, man, everything's going great. I'm just so worried it's going to all fall apart. And she said to me, well, maybe it never will. And I thought about it, and here we are today. And life is just truly amazing. I'm so blessed, so happy to have this peace of mind, and life is just so good.
I know you have that young daughter that I see. She's in sports and everything now. Were you apart from your wife and daughter at that point when you were in the extended stay hotel?
Well, 2010 was my last fight. I had to get a hip replacement. And when I got that, basically my career was over. in my mind, and I pretty much just only thing kept me from my whole career was I was an alcoholic my whole career, but the only thing that kept me from drinking daily would be I had to train and get ready for some of these fights. Sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. But hell, I forgot what the question was.
Like, was this before? Was your rock
Oh,
bottom before your
yeah,
current
so
wife?
2010. I just was lost, man. I didn't know what to do with myself, and just drank, and I was so sad, depressed. Man, I was 44, but I still wanted more, man. I just wanted more fights. I loved it. No way to get that high, but uh, so I I met a woman out, and I got her pregnant, and that was kind of a wrap, man. We were very toxic for each other. We were both alcoholics, and I pretty much, I mean, I hit rock bottom. I wasn't allowed to do much of anything, man. I got controlled and dominated, and finally, when my daughter turned 5 and could talk, I left. I left for good, but that's when it really got ugly because um, she felt like I belonged to her, and for about 3 years, it was just stalking and trying to get me back, and I just went further and further down until finally West Sims showed up, and I checked into rehab, and I shut up and I listened for the first time in my life, and I learned all about the disease, and I'm very proud that I consider myself a black belt in alcoholism and addiction, and I just learned, and life is good, brother.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I'm glad that you were able to break free of that because that's horrible. What would have been the most you drank in a day? What would be like a that would probably kill a normal person, I would imagine.
Well, I could binge drink with the best of them, but once I realized that you wake up with that horrible hangover, but then all of a sudden I realized if I just grabbed a beer in the morning and drank one, it would take away the hangover, and I'd be right back where I was the night before. So I started getting into that routine. So I would, towards the end, it got really bad, but I was trying to moderate how much I drank. So I would spread my beers out just enough to keep me feeling good because I didn't want to die. And, it just, so I moderated it, but, probably, you know, case a day at least.
At least it wasn't like hard liquor because that'll make you black out and do
Well, I did
crazy
that.
stuff.
I did that as well, but towards the end, like I said, I tried to once in a while I would grab some hard liquor just to make it real easy to get to where I wanted to fucking be. So,
Yeah.
but I moderated it because Wes Sims walked in and he looked at me and he said, what are you trying to do? You trying to kill yourself? And I said, hell no. I said, I'm just I'm gonna get through this. I wasn't in denial. I knew I was an alcoholic and I just wasn't ready to quit. I knew I was gonna quit someday or at least give it a fucking try. But I'm just glad I did it that day, and I got through it.
Would you have imagined in the 90s that in the 2020s both you and Tank Abbott would be sober?
No, I didn't plan on ever getting sober because you don't really realize you got a problem until towards the end. Then I realized I wasn't in denial. But yeah, I always planned on getting sober. That's for sure. I just didn't think rehab, was going to be the answer. I didn't think it was going to help. But they stuck two therapist ladies on me, and we got to know each other real well. And at about the 5 month mark, I finally told them. I said, I know you guys like having me here, but man, it's time for me to get on. So I got released, and it was scary. When I checked in, you drive to and from the center, and they take you to like a convenience store on the way home, and I would walk in it, and you would just feel, the beer sign, the alcohol sign back there, and it just scared me. Alcohol all of a sudden scared the hell out of me. But then, the longer it goes, the better it gets, the easier it gets, and you just got to keep working the system. Once you think you got it in check, once you think you're okay, that's when you'll slip and fall. You gotta keep going to AA meetings. You gotta keep working the 12 steps, and you gotta put it in God's hands. That's what I got. He guides me, and whenever I have any problems, I just turn the Christian rock on, and it relaxes me, and I just go move forward.
Yeah, one mistake I made, which I wouldn't suggest anyone going through that, is don't go to Las Vegas by yourself if you think you've conquered your demons.
Yeah, you don't really want to test yourself as much as you can avoid it. You don't really need to challenge yourself and see if you got it or not. Just it's better to stay away.
Now, you have a huge documentary that is debuting on HBO this week. It came out last night, Surviving Ohio State. And this is this you on the bench on the front page of it, or someone that's supposed to be you?
No, that could be anybody. I mean, there was our team doctor at Ohio State. He was a stalker, whatever you want to call it. I don't know the right word to use, but he gave advanced physicals all the time. You had to go in and see him to be eligible to wrestle. You needed to get his approval, so you have to go see him. And basically, he was hands on, and he liked men, and he would touch you, and he got a lot of guys really bad. Nobody knew how bad it was, but this documentary, you got to go watch it. It'll tell the whole story. And this guy was a sick man. He got away with it for 10. He got away with it for 20 years. Ohio State turned the other eye. So many people had to turn the other way for him to get away with this for so long. They've admitted their wrongdoings, but now they don't want to settle. They're offering very small amount of settlement, and I'm fighting this thing until yes, I want paid for what happened, and I'll wait till the number is right. There's been 10 universities that have similar lawsuits come out since ours. Michigan just settled for $1,500,000 for each survivor. So, you know, we create awareness across the country. This is happening all over the place. And now it's getting attention that it deserves because this is happening all the time. You got the Boy Scouts, you got Michigan State gymnastics. That's how this thing came about. I was watching Larry Nasser and that because my daughter was a gymnast and talking to an old wrestling buddy of mine, Mike DeSabato, and he put it together immediately that this happened to us. And you just didn't think it could happen, a man on a man. We just never thought about it until it clicked, and then we realized this is happening, and it did happen.
So you're basically just going in for your physicals, and at the time, you're thinking, okay, this is seems a little inappropriate, but yeah, I want to wrestle, so I'm just gonna put up with it. And then once you guys get talking, you realize, hey, wait a minute, he's doing this to all of us. Is that kind of how it goes, or how do you guys come to realize about this now, rather than at the time?
Well, we just didn't think it was gay bashing was big at the time, and we were, told not to be careful. You get yourself in big trouble. But you go in for a physical or any kind of injury, you got to step out of your shorts, and he'll give you a full growing check and more. They're really sneaky. The guy was really smart, genius, and he got away with a lot of people. If you watch the documentary, it's very sad, but it is what it is, and now we're just trying to look for change and make sure this doesn't happen to anybody else.
Very good. What was your scholarship like at Ohio State back then?
What do you mean?
Like, was it a full ride, all your food covered? Did you get any,
Well,
like,
yeah, but by this time I was ranked number one in the country, so yeah, I got a full ride.
because you started at a different school, right?
I
Miami
went
of
to.
Ohio?
I didn't get recruited out of high school very heavily at all. I went to Miami, Ohio, and made a name for myself. I took fourth in the country my junior year, so after that I could have transferred anywhere, and I just transferred to Ohio State.
Just because you wanted to stay close to home?
My girlfriend was there.
What was it like winning the NCAA title?
That was big, man. That was like the biggest thing ever at the time. I planned on winning, two or three of those coming out of high school, but that's truly one of the hardest things in wrestling there is to do is to win that national championship because you got to make it through the whole season, a 9 month season of grinding and grinding. You got to try to maintain your strength, but at the same time, you got to get that cardio just a little better for the whole 9 months. So you're trying to keep your strength, but also you got to be able to go 7 minutes nonstop. And then you got to avoid the injuries. And then you got the pressure gets enormous at nationals, and that was my fifth year. I still had won, but I was feeling the pressure come nationals. I was dominating everybody all year long, but there was a couple tight matches in nationals, but I won in the finals, and I started to think maybe I do belong with the big boys in this sport. So nationals was huge.
Do you think if UFC had been as big as it is now back then, that you would have still gone for the Olympics, or do you think you would have transitioned right into MMA?
It's hard to tell because wrestling was my life. It's the greatest sport in the world, and to me, that was the coolest thing ever, be Olympic champion in wrestling. But at the same time, when MMA started, it quickly became the coolest thing ever to me. So it would have been hard not to get in it right away because that was my dream. As a kid growing up, I wanted to be the baddest man on the planet. That's it. I didn't want. I didn't want. My dad never lost a fight, and to me, that would have been the most embarrassing ever, losing a fight in the street. So, you know, I loved it.
Were you a street fighter too growing up? Were you like fighting in high school and stuff regularly, or were you keeping it more sports oriented?
Um, well, like I said, I knew size mattered at a very young age. Go to the Christmas event, you got the bigger cousins, and they're able to pick on you and shit. So I started training hard, like in 5 years of age, I could do 100 push-ups in a row. So I knew bigger, stronger, faster is what I lived by, and uh, so I got ready, and I didn't pick fights because I wanted to make sure I was ready before I did fight. And I tried to be a nice guy. I was a shy guy, so I didn't go out looking for it. But then you add the alcohol, and of course that brought on a few fights. But my way of winning a street fight was always to scare the shit out of the guy and let him know he fucked with the wrong dude. I let him know I'm going to break his neck in half like a chicken, and I would say it very scary looking, and I'd let all his buddies know I'm going to kick his ass, and if any of you guys jump in, I'm going to beat the hell out of you too. So basically, I won 95% of my fights by scaring the guy away. But I got in a handful of fights. I was in one crazy war with versus about three of us versus about 25, and it was on. It was on rather quickly, and I was fighting for my life. But we dominated. I didn't even get hit. I probably dropped at least 10 to 12 guys that night, and the other two guys there, they took care of it. So we sent them back home. We sent them packing back to the house.
At what point did you first meet Mark Kerr? Because I know you're in the upcoming movie where The Rock is playing Mark Kerr. You were on the set, I guess, too, at one point.
Yeah, I got to spend a day on the set. That was pretty cool. But you know, he's from Ohio, so he's a state champion. But Ohio State, they recruited this other guy that had beat Mark Kerr. I didn't have no say in the matter. I just would have looked at Mark Kerr's body and said, "Get me that guy, and I'll make him a killer." But they went with the other guy. The other guy ended up not even 3-20 on his record. But yeah, Mark Kerr went on to become a hell of a college wrestler. I wrestled him. My senior year was his freshman year. I wrestled him at nationals. I beat him. I tech fought him like 16-1. That was the first time we wrestled. Then I wrestled him like 4 or 5 years later in freestyle wrestling. I beat him again, and then I beat him a third time. So I beat him in 1996 without any training. After the '92 Olympics, I went AWOL for hell 4 years. I didn't wrestle at all. I I started drinking and partying, but I never missed a weight training session. So for once, I was able to put on some serious size. I could never get over 200. I wrestled 220, but I could never get over like 218, 219. That's all I could get up to. But when I took this time off, I got up to 228, 230, and then I came back and I tried out I beat Kurt Angle in 1995 without any training at all. He won the world championships that year, but I showed up at a tournament because I was getting paid by Foxcatcher. They told me I had to do some wrestling, and I showed up there. I beat Kurt Angle, and then a year later at the Olympic trials, I beat Mark Kerr in the first round, and then I lost, and then there was a manager there come up to me and he gave me the offer to fight in the UFC, and I took it. I was ecstatic, and then from there, Mark Kerr lost at the Olympic trials as well. So I helped him get into the fight game, and then I helped coach him. I went to Pride with him a bunch of times, and we became good friends. But I sure wish we would have got a chance to fight each other. That would have been as epic as it gets. And the second round of the Pride Grand Prix, that would have been the fight everybody was looking for.
I guess that's you and The Rock. They did a pretty good job of making him look like Mark Kerr there.
That's sick, man. It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's beautiful. I got a call from Dana White a couple of days ago. Gave me a call out of the blue. He said, "Mark," I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Dana White." I thought I was in some trouble. I didn't know what I did, but he said he just got done watching the Smashing Machine movie, and he said it blew him away, man. He said it's freaking amazing. He said Ryan Bader made you look. He said Ryan Bader made you look like a savage killer, and he said The Rock did amazing. He was just super impressed. So I'm so excited to see that movie.
Oh, it's Ryan Bader playing you from Bellator.
Yeah, yeah, he did a great job, is what I
Wow.
hear.
Oh, so you haven't seen it yet?
No,
Okay, that's interesting. And
October 3rd. October 3rd is the premiere.
Tank Abbott was telling me it seems like they must have paid Mark something for that because apparently he's now within 5 minutes of Tank. Did they give you anything for using your character?
I didn't understand what you just said.
Like apparently Tank Abbott told me that Mark has just got a very nice house in Scottsdale, Arizona recently, close to his. So he figured that Mark may have got a big payoff for that movie. Did you get any type of payoff for them using your name and likeness in the movie?
No, absolutely nothing. I mean, that would be nice, but I haven't heard a thing about it. And Mark Kerr, I don't know what's up with him. He told me he's not getting nothing, but maybe he's being quiet. I don't know, but it is what it is.
Yeah. As far as your pro wrestling career, why didn't you do more pro wrestling after MMA? Because you were pretty good at that.
I spent 5 years doing it in Japan. I did it whenever they called. I loved it. As far as the WWE, um, I became champion of the UFC, and they had just hired Dan Severn and Tank Abbott and Ken Shamrock. Shamrock did pretty good. Tank was the biggest flop ever, and then Severn was very average. So they weren't so high on the UFC guys anymore, but they did bring me to one of the shows, and I showed up rather drunk, very very drunk. I got backstage and uh, I I messed with Chris Jericho. He got thrown out of the ring, and I was ringside, and I was just telling him to get his ass up, you pussy. I was just yelling like a fan. I said, "Get up, Jericho, you pussy!" This and that. Well, he looked up at me, made eye contact with me, and he flips me off. He said something to me, and he went backstage and he complained to whoever was back there, and all of a sudden, I wasn't allowed backstage anymore. So I didn't hear from him after that. But they
Yeah,
blew it. They blew it because I could have had some epic matches with old Kurt Angle and a few other guys. We would have freaking killed
that seems like typical Chris Jericho protecting his spot, not wanting another top guy coming in.
it. Yeah, whatever, pussy.
As far as your fighting career, you've faced legends across multiple eras, from UFC to the early days of Pride. Who is the toughest opponent you ever faced and why?
Well, like you said, a lot of them were really close, but Fedor for sure. I got him in his prime, and my man could do it. He could do it all. His punches came from different angles. They were crazy angles. They were fast and they were powerful. He was a strong guy, even though he might not have looked so strong, but he was super strong. His jiu-jitsu was excellent. Uh, his weakness was his wrestling, to be honest with you, and I told him that. And well, the second time I fought him was in Vegas, and the night before the show, they said no wrestling shoes, and I knew that was going to be a disaster because I hadn't trained without wrestling shoes at all, and it completely changes the game as far as your grip and your power. And I was slipping all over the place out there. But on top of it, they let Fedor literally grab the ropes and hold on for like 30 seconds as I'm trying to take him down. So that didn't help matters. But he was just good, man. He was great. Look, man, Crow Cop was good, but they only gave me 2 weeks notice to fight him. I tried to say no, but they offered too much money, so I knew I sold my soul to the devil. Noguera, I didn't have a good camp for that. He was the slickest guy on the ground that I've ever faced. Um, list goes on. I mean, I can't even remember right now.
Is there anyone that got into your head mentally, or you had a real problem with mental blocks or anything before fighting them?
Yeah, my last fight ever against Randy Couture. Uh, they put that fight together real quick in 50 days notice, which I mean that's good. That's some time, but I prefer about 90. So I had to cram a 50-day camp in, and I knew I was going to have to be perfect in all my game to beat him because he can go so hard. And conditioning's everything for me. mentally, if I didn't have a good camp and I wasn't ready to go, I knew it. I could have if I could have gave tips off to all my friends when I was going to win or lose. I pretty much knew every time when I was going to lose. But KOTOR, and I just started using a hyperbaric chamber during that camp. I just got turned on to it. I was getting it free, like $250 a pop. So I was going in this thing 4 or 5 days a week, and it was just melting the fat off me. And I came in, it melted so much weight off me that I only had to cut like a few pounds the night before. It was like I got so close to weight, not on purpose, it just fell off. And that mentally messed me up so bad because size and strength means everything to me. So I'm standing in the cage. I got introduced first, and then he comes walking in I'm going to put you in a stranglehold, baby. And he's coming in. He got a big pop from the crowd. And then Susie, I'm feeling pretty good. Like I can do this. But then Susie walked in the cage. I looked over, and his legs looked huge, and he just looked bigger. And all of a sudden, mentally, it just left, man. It just left. And that was the absolute worst fight of my life. I didn't do anything. I went out there and just stood there, and I was a human punching bag, and that's it. I froze like never before against KOTOR.
That's unfortunate. Looking at UFC and MMA today, what do you think the biggest changes are since your era?
Well, just, evolution. You got coaches everywhere. You got teams. You got camps. And you got money everywhere. Tons of money. And people there's so much, they have more skill because they've had time to learn it since they were a little kid. They got years of training in. So they're just way more advanced and a lot more skill. But I don't know if they're definitely not any tougher than we were, that's for sure. But just had, more technique and stuff. And it's beautiful. These guys they're amazing what they can do. What the women can do truly blows my mind.
Who's been your favorite woman fighter so far?
Probably Amanda Nunes. I like Kayla Harrison a lot, so I'm so excited about that fight. But, so many of them. I like the champions, man. It takes it just takes a little more to become that champion. All the champions are just a little different, man, and that's what I'm looking for.
Do you think MMA still produces the warriors that it used to produce in your time? Because it seems like the characters from your time were just more like barbaric, I guess you could say.
Well, that comes with the money and the more cameras, the more fans. That's just going to happen. But no, man, you going to try to tell me Volkanovski's not a fucking savage killer? I mean, they not. There's a lot of them. Islam, uh, hell, John Jones is the GOAT, man. I wish he'd fight Aspinall, of course, but he has every right not to. But he's gonna miss out on 15 million. So I think it'll happen someday. Um,
Yeah.
I like Potan, Alex Pereira. I love that guy. That weight class is beautiful. Um, list goes on and on.
How did your training differ preparing for amateur wrestling than MMA? Because back then there didn't seem to be as much like overall mixed martial arts dojos around.
Uh, basically, I stuck to my roots, man. And there's nothing harder than straight wrestling. If you do straight wrestling right and you're pushing yourself, it's the hardest 5 minutes of your life. So I did a lot of wrestling, and then I did the MMA wrestling. So I catered it towards fighting, but still the grind from wrestling is the number one way to prepare yourself for a fight. So I did a lot of that, but I did everything. The cool thing about MMA was wrestling was just brutal. Every day you walk into that damn wrestling room and you have to wrestle again, man. It's just horrible. The body is so sore, but you got to do it every day for years. In MMA, you can hit the bag, you can hit the pads, you can spar, you can do some jujitsu. Of course, you do the running, you do all the cardio. So just so many things to mix it up. It's made it so much more cooler. Wrestling was super cool, but man, it was just miserable, miserable grind.
And no money in it, really, I guess, other than for Foxcatcher.
Yeah, no money. Foxcatcher gave $1,000 a month. You know, that's no money. But now, you know, you get, I think you get 250,000 for a gold medal, or maybe even more now. So they are paying winners, and the top three athletes in America, they're on a small payroll too. So there's a little bit of money, but it's peasant money.
What was the card pay when you were going to the Olympics?
I don't think I don't think there was any pay in my day.
Oh, that's brutal.
No pay.
Looking back on your training from the 90s and early 2000s, is there anything you would do differently now that you know more about recovery?
Oh hell yeah! I mean, I learn every day. I mean, I, I I think outside the box. I do crazy exercises now. I do tons and tons of yoga, tons of stretching. I do it all, you know, nonstop. Now I just started adding. I'm back to. I've been weight training for the last 2.5 years, but super high reps, you know, just 50 set reps and stuff like that. But just recently, I cut it back where I'm doing, you know, low reps and heavier weight, and immediately the high that I get from you know, doing a heavy set, the rush, the pump, it's just beautiful. I'm addicted to it again now, and I'm growing. I'm growing fast, and you know, I'm just trying to be the best version of myself I could be. And yeah, I'm vain. I want to look good.
You're posting a lot of sauna videos over the last few years. What benefits do you see out of the sauna?
I love the sauna, but a place called Hot Works I go to, and they got a bunch of small rooms with the assault bike or just a bike or a rolling machine, and you go in there, you 15-minute sessions with a lady or three ladies guiding you through a 15-minute workout. You sprint, you coast, you turn up the torque, and I went about 6 months ago, and I tell you what, the first 15 minutes, it was just brutal. I had to get out of there like right after 15. It was so hot. I got out of there, and I was able to do a 15, and then next thing you know, I was doing two in a row, and now I go twice a day, and I do like 4 sessions each time, so I'm doing for like 2 hours just in the sauna. But that's just a small part of my day, man. I'm so addicted to this shit. I love I love being sore. We're sitting here right now. My whole body. It's 11 o'clock, but I've been at it since 7, and I'm already super sore from head to toe. But I'm just gonna keep going, man. I love feeling good.
I had a MMA coach that wanted me to ask you if you were competing today, how would you structure a modern fight camp from week one to fight night? What key elements would you prioritize? And would you lean more on hard sparring, conditioning, or strategic drilling as the fight gets closer?
That's a crazy question, man. It's just common sense. I'm gonna go hard. I'm gonna do a little bit of everything. I'm gonna do more. What I found out at the age of 60, when I found out how much the body can take, I'm not about recovery, man. The body will recover. Everybody says I overtrain this and that, but hey, the proof's in the pudding, man. I'm so damn hard, so damn strong right now. I get stronger every day. I'm strong for long, man. I'm not just strong for a minute. I can squeeze for a long time, and I'm just getting better, and I do everything. Structure, I take it. Every day I would wake up and see how my body feels, and schedule my day that day. I don't look too far down the road. I get through one day, and then I adjust accordingly to how my body feels.
What is a key element of training that you think today's fighters might be overlooking?
Wrestling. Nobody wants to wrestle. Nobody. It's too hard on the body. It's no fun. Everybody wants to do jujitsu, play around. The intensity needed to wrestle is brutal. It's dangerous. I got to beg people to wrestle, straight wrestle, where you don't go to your back. Being on the bottom and fighting from going to your back is a whole. It works different muscles. You gotta change it up. You know what I mean? So you got to get in there. I'm just asking for 2 days a week. Give me an hour of straight wrestling. It'll change the game for you.
Someone's asking, when did your cauliflower ear develop, and how's it looking today? I could still see you got it.
It's beautiful. It's perfect. I love it. It all happened from, I remember just one hard hit, and then all of a sudden I had cauliflower. And this one's pretty good, but I like it. It's a tattoo for me. I don't have any tattoos. That's my tattoo right there.
There you go. I do the same thing for my scars. I say the same thing. As far as competing in UFC when it first started, were you at all nervous about the brutality of the no holds barred aspect of it?
Oh, absolutely not, man. I'm all about the brutality, violent headbutts. Um, of course there was fear involved, but the way you deal with fear is you train hard. And as long as I was in shape, you know, I was able to deal with the fear like nothing because I was blessed, man. There's nothing like being a world class wrestler and the other guy's not being a world class wrestler. It really wasn't fair. If I would have trained, I don't think I ever lose. I don't think I ever lose a fight if I would have been more serious about the damn sport. But, you know, I accept what happened and I learned from it. You can't get it back. I did okay. I did okay sometimes, but I was more or less a journeyman. My MMA career, I call it a journeyman.
You won UFC 10 and UFC 11 and became the first UFC heavyweight champion. What would have been the defining moments of those two tournaments for you?
Well, 10 was I only had 35 days. I walked off the wrestling mat and I had a fight in 35 days. I didn't train at all for the Olympic trials, so I wasn't in shape. But 35 days, boy, did I get the eye of the tiger back because the fear was there. Once I got the fight taken, I went back and looked at the tapes, and everybody looked a lot tougher. When all of a sudden I was in, all of a sudden Down Fry looked pretty damn tough. But before I was in, I watched him and said, I'll kill that guy. But once I got in, definitely was very nervous, but um, dominated the first two guys. The confidence just every fight I got better. It was like wrestling. You wrestle 5 times a day. I always got better. I wrestled myself into the shape. By the time I got to the finals, I was in much better shape. But that night as well, by the time I got to Fry, they came back and I just walked out of the cage. They came back and said, well, you're up in 20 minutes. And I looked at him and said, let's go. I was so ready, but then they realized that they wanted Fry to win. So they're trying to push me back in there. But when they realized I was feeling so good, they went back to Fry and he asked for more time. So then they came back and it turned out to be about, 45 minutes later before he was ready to go. And yeah, that was unbelievable. You'll never see another fight like that ever because it'll be stopped way sooner. And it takes two people to put on a fight like that. One of them has to be Don Fry, the toughest man I've ever fought in my life. I was going to have to kill him before he would have quit. He would have never tapped out and never quit. And I was worried about that, man. I was getting scared towards the end of that fight because you couldn't even recognize his face. And you know, I'm a human being, man. I have feelings, and I didn't want to kill this guy, you know. But thank God, finally, Big John came to his fucking senses and yanked me off, you know. But Big John wasn't so kind to me either. He was he I don't think he wanted me to win either. He did some very shady shit to me.
Do you agree with Tank Abbott about some of the stuff he said about Big John? Because he called Tank Abbott up in a match that where when it was supposed to be no holds barred, no calling them up, and then Tank ended up losing when he pretty much had the fight won.
I don't know what you just say.
Like I don't know if you're familiar, but like Tank Abbott has a big feud with Big John McCartney too. Because in one of his fights, he had the fight won on the ground, but Tank called them up,
He had to
even though it
fight.
was
He had to fight one on the ground.
like he had the guy down. I think it was against Oleg, and like John called them up, even though it was supposed to be no holds barred.
Well,
And then Oleg,
exactly. He did the same thing to me against Pete Williams. He let Pete Williams grab onto the cage and hold on the cage for literally 20 seconds as I'm trying to take his ass down. And he's got an answer for all these things. He tries to tell me you were allowed to grab onto the cage to avoid getting taken down, but I wasn't allowed to grab onto the cage because I grabbed onto the cage once and immediately he said, hands off the cage or I'm taking a point away. It just blew my mind, but he has an answer for it, but I don't believe his answers. He's making shit up. He's making shit up. That's it.
did, so you think there's probably a reason why they stopped using him as a ref?
I have no idea. I don't know why they got rid of him. I thought he left.
Okay. As far as Don Fry, did you ever talk to him about sobriety and stuff? Because I know he's had struggles too. I don't know what the status of his issues are,
Yeah,
but
of course. You know, many times he's working on it. It's a tough situation because he's in so much damn pain. I feel so bad for him. His back is destroyed. He's in severe pain, and it's just it's on him. He's the only one that can make it better. Everybody can talk, but he's got to commit. He got sober. He got sober a few times, but it's a daily battle. It's the toughest fight of your life. I'm winning my fight right now, but you know it's tough. You know, but I'm praying for him, and I don't know. I just hope things get better because he's just one of the nicest guys out there. I go to these appearances with him, and he's just absolutely loved by the fans, man. Just loved, and I shouldn't say this, but if you go up and when he's doing autographs, if you tell him you're military, he tells you to take whatever you want. But then if you tell him you ain't got no money, he'll tell you to take what you want. He's just such a good guy, man. I just love him to death. He hated my guts after our fight. Said he watched it for a year straight, every day, just disgusted with himself, hated himself. I would see him at events. I waved to him, and he would reluctantly wave back. But then finally, after about 3 years, he come walking up to me, and he put his hand out. He said, I can't hate you. He said, we're too damn much alike, you know? And I said, yeah, brother, let's go. Let's party. So, yeah, we became best friends, but then we had to fight again. And after the second one, he come walking back up to me. He says, "Well, we're gonna have to do it again, you know." So he wanted a third one. So maybe we'll do a wheelchair boxing match together.
Yeah, do you like fighting your friends? Because I find in a fight, one of the toughest parts is the fear of losing. But if you're fighting your friend, you don't really care if you lose as much. So, like, to me, it's less pressure. But with you, there's lots of money on the line, so it might be different.
No, man, I don't. I'd rather. I don't want to lose to my damn friend. Losing to Mark Kerr would have been the worst loss ever. I wanted to beat his ass. Just because he's a friend don't make losing that make it worse to me.
Okay. At UFC 14, you came up with the term ground and pound. How did you develop that style?
Just natural, man. Just right when I got in, that's exactly what I visualized. That's how I'm going to do it. Real simple strategy, no brainer. I mean, I got pretty good stand up. Everybody will laugh when they just hear that, but I knocked everybody out in practice. Everybody. I fucked people up, but in a fight, the only chance the other guy had with me was catching me with a punch and knocking me out. So I'm not going to risk it. I'm going to get him down and beat the hell out of him. But if I had to do it all over again, I definitely would have showcased my stand-up skill. Everybody said,
Yeah.
everybody says the stand-up's so horrible. Only time I ever used stand-up was when I absolutely had to because I was exhausted and I couldn't take the guy down. So obviously my punches were going to look like shit at that point.
I was actually thinking that watching some of your Instagram videos last night because when you're shadow boxing, you can tell you have good stand up.
I hit hard when I'm not even trying to, man. I mean, I don't, you got to be careful sparring with people because I don't want to hurt nobody, but I can't throw a right hand because I just can't. You know what I mean? My jab will fuck you up.
What was your boxing sparring like? Would you go 100% or would you make some type of agreement of, okay, we're going to go this percentage on certain days?
It's Hammer House, brother. Hammer House, man. We just went at it, but it was it was scary. It was dangerous. You know, you tried to hold back, but when you get into a flurry, that's it. You're gonna let it go. So yeah, we I dropped everybody. I dropped every one of my teammates.
Yeah, the worst concussion I ever had was from sparring. I was sitting on the bench after and the whole room was spinning around me. And I was thinking to myself, should I be going this hard?
I never
Uh,
I never got dropped in practice.
yeah. I wasn't dropped. I was just rocked crazy hard.
Yeah.
You won the Pride 2000 Open Weight Grand Prix,
I
defeating two.
sparred I sparred Ken Shamrock once.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, we went about 4 rounds, 5 rounds. Yeah, I'd say the you know, first 3 or 4, they were competitive. Um, it wasn't my thing, but uh, we got to the last round and we got into a little flurry, and I three punched him, man. I rocked rocked him with a 3 punch combo, and I couldn't believe he didn't go down. I was just pretty impressed because I hit him fucking real hard, and then we came back for the 5th round, and all of a sudden the coach said, "We're just going to drill this round." So we were doing some kind of drill, but Shamrock couldn't get it right, man. He was off. He was off. And all of a sudden, about 30 seconds into the last round, he looked at me. He said, "Did you hit me?" I said, "Yeah, about a minute ago, I plowed you." He's like, he didn't know where he was at, man. So I rocked his world, but he don't like admitting that shit. He writes his book, and his, his people tell their version of that day, and no, it ain't the same as mine, but I guarantee you my story's the correct one.
He did an interview where he said he fought in one of the UFCs on E. I think it was the Buffalo UFC that he was on ecstasy. Do you believe that you could compete in the UFC in those days on ecstasy and still do okay?
I don't see why not. I mean, it definitely would have been different. You might have been better. Might have made you better. See things more clear.
How did the rules change when you went to Pride? Like how did the different rules affect the way that you fought?
Um, well, the knees and the kicks to a grounded opponent, that changes the fight. It completely changes the fight. Um, and that's what my go-to was. Knees to the head on the ground, get north-south, and knee to the guy to the head. But they changed the rules every show. Sometimes the knees to the head were legal, sometimes they weren't. Come to the Pride Grand Prix 2000, the night before the 2000, the finals was supposed to be a 20-minute time limit, and I already did the math. I'm going to beat Soji in the first round. I'm going to beat Kern in the second round. Then I'm going to have Volchansson in the finals, and I'm going to ground and pound him for 20 minutes and win this whole thing. But then the night before, they said the finals will be a no time limit match, which blew my freaking mind because I had no idea how I'm going to finish this Volchansson guy because I've seen him fight for a couple hours before. He could beat the hell out of him. He just won't quit. But and then knees to the head, they made those illegal, and that was the only way I visualized beating him, knees to the head. But then they said if he's on his back, you can knee him in the head. Well, it didn't make any sense to me because all you got to do is belly down and you can't knee him anymore. But fortunately for me, somehow I got this guy stuck in the corner of the ring on his back, and I wasn't even sure if I could knee him because the rule changed. And so all of a sudden, I just put the knee up and I did it. And next thing you know, 16 knees later, he finally tapped out. He wasn't knocked out, which is, I don't know how the hell he wasn't knocked out, but he finally tapped out, and that was my biggest win ever, my favorite win, the highest of all highs, because the whole world had been talking shit about Mark Coleman. He's an old, washed up man, and I needed to shut people up, and that's what I thought about when I won that bitch. I'll let you guys know when I'm freaking finished.
I've heard that in Pride sometimes they injected fighters with adrenaline before, so maybe that guy had a shot of adrenaline or something that helped him not get knocked out.
Who knows? Who cares? I don't really care.
Yeah.
He was just one tough motherfucker right there.
Do you think really, like, because you fought in drug tested and undrug tested sports, does it make a difference with some fighters more than others, or to you, like, if you're tough and you're the technique and the grittiness, is that all that really matters?
No, man, steroids definitely give you a big advantage. I mean, you can train so much harder. That's the advantage they give you is you're able to train so much harder because your body will repair. So it doesn't do the work for you. It just gives you the ability to work harder. So work harder, you're going to be in better shape. You're going to be stronger for longer. That's the game.
At Pride 31, you had that huge melee with Mauricio Shogun Rua. Could you talk to us about that incident?
Oh, that was probably my second favorite win ever because it was the last fight on my contract. I'm 43 years old, and Pride offers me an extension, $10,000 a fight. They offer me a 3-fight extension for $10,000 a fight, and I looked at him and said, "Are you kidding me? All the shit I've done for this company, $10,000." I said, "Shove it up your ass." I said, "You guys messed up," because they had already given me 3 months notice to fight Shogun. They don't ever give me notice like that because they don't want me in shape. But they didn't think I could beat this kid. They thought he was that good. So they said, don't get hurt in training. I figured it all out. Well, I had the best training camp. It was the best training camp my whole fight career. And the hell was I getting at?
You were going to talk about the incident after and beating him.
Well, I knew I was going to beat him. I actually put $5,000 on myself that night, 4-1 underdog. So that's a nice payout. But they gave me, like I said, they gave me 90 days, and they blew it. So I got in shape, and I didn't extend my contract, and it's on the line. The UFC is just starting to make some gains. I'm going to beat Shogun, and then I'm going back to the UFC, and that's exactly what happened. I didn't know I broke his arm, had no clue I broke his arm, just felt the ref pulling me off, and I was confused. And then, I got attacked by a bunch of Brazilians, and that was the funnest time I've ever had. That little melee, I loved every second of it. It was so damn cool. I had my dad and Phil Brony in my corner, probably the weakest corner I've ever had. You know, not very much backup. Brony comes running into the K ring, and this idiot grabs me around the waist, and he picks me up a little bit while these guys are attacking me. I can feel them coming from all directions, and this asshole, he's grabbing me. He should be standing in front of me, being a fucking corner man. Instead, he's holding me. But finally, I break his grip right before Wanderlei was making a V-line towards my head. I broke the grip right before he got there. Wanderlei got tripped up. He fell into my leg, and I took two big, crazy swings at him. Unfortunately, I missed, but it looked good. And then I got shoved up against the ropes. Brony and Wanderlei were wrestling. I'm stuck up against the ropes. People are taking cheap shots at me. And then I look down, and Wanderlei has Brony in his guard, and he's looking straight up at me. And I could just stomp his face in if I wanted to. I could have just took my heel and caved his head in, but that's not who I am. But I did pick my foot up. I grabbed the ropes, and I put my foot on his throat. I made it look like I was pushing down because I heard all the cameras clicking, and he got all nuts. He jumped up. I thought he was going to come at me, but when he got back to his feet, he just walked back to his corner, and it was over. Just like that, it was over. And then I knew I had pride by the balls. They called me up on Monday. They offered me a rematch versus Shogun. I said, hell no. I don't want to do that right now. I'll do that whenever I want. They offered me like $100,000. I'm like, no, hell no. Then they offered me Fedor. And then UFC's calling me. They're not offering me much money, but I really wanted to go back there. The negotiations got messed up. My manager was doing some dirty shit. Next thing you know, they're up to $250,000, and I got to give him an answer that day. And I told Dana just to come up a little bit on his offer, and I'm in. But then my manager said Dana's not budging. So next thing you know, I took the pride fight. Dana called me the next day, called me a stupid idiot, told me to fly out to Vegas and we'll negotiate it. And my dumbass said, well, I already told Pride, so I felt like I need to stay committed to what I told him last night. And he said, you're a dumbass. And he's right, because they bought Pride real soon after that, so my contract was worthless anyway. So then Dana White made me wait a year before they made me an offer to fight back in the UFC. So, I was 43. I didn't get to fight till I was 44 then.
That's brutal. That's really bad. You mentioned Phil Brody in your corner being a dumbass. What do you think of everything going on with him? I guess I have a friend that was in touch with him. Apparently he's now lost touch with them. He doesn't even know how he's doing, but he hasn't even gone to trial yet. So that's a
Nah, he's not
horrible.
going to trial. They don't. All they want from him is money. So they people been sending him money and buys him a little bit of peace, but then when the money runs out and he can't get any more, no, he's getting abused, real bad. He's getting abused, and it's horrible. It's ugly, but sometimes the consequences are what they are. You gotta pay the consequences for your choices.
Yeah, he should have got the hell. He shouldn't have done it, but he should have got the hell out of Mexico right after it happened. If, but whatever, he wasn't thinking straight, I guess. As far as Team Hammerhouse, which you produced a bunch of notable fighters, how did you balance coaching fighters with fighting your own fights back then?
It was hard. I didn't I didn't do a great job at it. You know what I mean? I should have spent way more time on myself in hindsight, but you know, it was fun. It worked out good. I loved my guys, and I wanted to get them ready, but I should have spent more time worrying about myself. And you know, my career was kind of a joke to me, man. Just kind of a joke. I didn't take it very seriously, and that I don't have no regrets anymore. But I definitely had regrets. But just the way it worked out, everything happens for a reason.
I see the Ali shirt. Who were some of your favorite boxers?
Tyson, Ali, George Foreman, um, Roberto Duran, Thomas Hearns. I like Fury now, Tyson Fury.
What did you think about Tommy Morrison?
Man, he did pretty damn good. Did damn good for a white boy. I've never seen a more violent knockout in my life against I think Ray Mercer. Is that right?
Yeah, where the referee didn't get in and he took like six unanswered shots.
No, it was just horrible, man. I watched him just the punches were holding him up, man. That referee that had to really. But no, he did a hell of a job, man.
Do you think that the MMA industry is less shady than boxing overall?
Hard to say. Who knows?
And the big thing you were in the news for, I believe it was last year, and we don't have to go too deep into it because I know you actually made international news off of this, and it's horrible. You lost your dog, but you were staying at your parents' house, visiting them, staying in your old room. There was a terrible fire. You ended up saving them. Could you just go over that for fans that may not have heard that story? And thank God you survived that. That just sounds awful.
Yeah, truly a miracle. Um, scariest 10 minutes of my life. My dog woke me up at 4 a.m. It's pitch black. I didn't really know where I was at. I was kind of confused. It was hot. I didn't really realize it was smoky, but it was. And then I walked out to the kitchen and I grabbed the back doorknob and I burnt the hell out of my hand. There was no flames. I seen smoke and stuff, but I wasn't putting anything together. I grabbed the doorknob and burnt my hand real bad. Then I heard a glass window fall, and right then it clicked. I realized it's a fire and it's everywhere. I knew it was inside the walls. I knew it was coming out soon. So I just immediately reacted. I ran back and woke my mom and dad up. I guided my dad and mom out. Smoke's getting bad, but I turned around. My mom hadn't come with us. She stayed back in the bedroom. So it just blew my mind. I don't know why she didn't come with us. So now I had to run back and get her. And this was brutal, man. Smoke was so bad at the time. I fell off the path into a room and I was lost, completely lost. I opened my eyes and I could see because the moonlight was coming through the bathroom window. And what I seen was terrifying, just like you see in the movies, man, just so much smoke. It was just horrifying. And for a second, I'm thinking, I'm not going to get my mom out, man. I don't know how she was on her feet anyway. She's got asthma real bad, but somehow she was still on her feet. And I just took a step. God guided me. I got right back on the right path. I was able to get my mom out. I ran back in a third time, trying to find my dog. I swiped under the bed. I swiped under the bed again. I sat up, took in a big, big dose of smoke. I fell into the bed. I knew I was in big trouble. I stood up and I fell into the bed again. And then I had to get out. And somehow, grace of God, I was able to get out to freedom. And I thought it wasn't hurt at all. I thought I was fine, coughing real hard, but I thought, oh my God, I made it. My dog's in there, so the highest of highs and lowest of lows at the same time. And I wasn't all right. I thought I was okay, but the fire department got there. I tried to go back in and get the dog. They sent me out to the ambulance, and I pretty much don't remember anything else. But they life flighted me to Toledo. I went into a coma for a couple of days, and then I pulled through, man. I pulled through, and then when I finally woke up and they took the tubes out of my throat, they said they'd never seen so much black shit on a lung in their life. The doctors couldn't believe it. They were able to clean it off quite a bit with this machine they have. If they weren't able to get the tar off, it'd have been like probably a lifelong recovery, but they got the tar off, a lot of it. I woke up and man, I found out the whole world had heard about it. The whole world was praying for me. It was just the emotions were just so far all over the place. I just happy, sad, mean, angry, grateful, blah blah blah. But it was just unbelievable that all the people praying for me. I just was overwhelmed and just never felt so blessed in my life to be alive.
What was wrong with the smoke detectors? Were the batteries just dead or something?
Pretty much, yep.
Oh, that's
Pretty much,
unfortunate.
yep. Sure is.
Mort Goldberg on here wants to know, how do you think you would have done if you had fought Randy Couture in your prime? Because he says you in your prime was a lot different than when you did fight him.
No, that's crazy, man. I was just as good at 43 as I was before. I just didn't. It's all about the training camp. I didn't have a good training camp. Mentally, I was defeated. That's it. I think if I have a good training camp, I would have whooped his ass. I would have whooped his ass with a good camp.
You have had a lot of surgeries. You've had heart surgeries, several hip replacement
No heart
surgeries.
surgery.
Oh no, that's false reported?
No, I had a heart attack, but no surgery.
Okay, so
Well,
I'm glad we're
I guess they had to go in and break the artery free, so I guess you call that a surgery.
okay. I was just gonna ask you, like, which one was the toughest to recover from, and how's your body holding up these days?
I recovered from all of them really well, but problem is I've had probably about 12 hip surgeries my whole life, but six of them, were in the past year and a half. Um, I dislocated my hip about a year and a half ago doing this training and shit. So it dislocated 3 times, and then the surgeon decided he's going to put a new hip replacement in. Got the new one in. Everything was going great, but then like 30 days later, I woke up, my leg was all swelled up and throbbing, and sure enough, the infection had set in, and they had to go take that one out, and this repeated itself 6 times. 6 times I had to get that damn thing changed because of the infection. But now it's been 6 months since my last one, and I feel like a million, billion, trillion bucks, man. I feel so damn good. I haven't missed a workout ever. I don't miss, and I'm finally feeling like a man. Everything's working in my body. I've got stem cell from Stem Cell International over in Colombia. I got 2 rounds of it, and that shit is amazing. I had 2 cartilage tears on my knee, and this stem cell completely healed them tears up. It does so much more than just that, but I feel amazing, and I'm just going to keep grinding. What am I training for? Hey, man, you never know when the next fight is going to be. I'm training for life. I want to be ready for anything that's thrown my way, and I love being healthy. Exercise is health. Health is my wealth, man. So I'm not doing this. I may come back and do something. I'm going to compete in a lot of stuff. Who knows what? The
I don't know if you can hear me, but we lost your sound somehow. Oh, now it's back.
Okay, so what was I talking? Yeah, somebody called me. What was I talking about?
You were talking about if you're going to come back for
Oh
anything. I
yeah,
mean,
I
we
mean,
heard about the celebrity boxing too.
yeah.
Is there?
Everybody just not everybody. I got my fans, but the haters just like sit down, old man. I've been getting laughed at this whole comeback, getting laughed at by a bunch of fucking turds. Tell me to sit down. No, you need to get the hell up off the couch and do something, you lazy piece of shit. Don't tell me what to do. You do something. I do what I like to do. I do whatever the freak I want, and I'm going to continue to do it. And who knows what I'll compete in. We'll see what comes up. I'm just getting better and better every day
At
at life.
one point, and are you still with the Liver King on some sort of supplement deal or something like that?
Yeah. I promote the carnivore diet. I work with Liver King. I love the guy. He's been great to me. The carnivore diet, living the 9 ancestral tenets. Yeah, I'm gonna go to his ranch here pretty soon, and he's gonna basically train me for like 3 months in the barbarian sled pole. But I'm excited, man. He's just a good guy to me. That's all I care about. You know, a lot of people don't like him because he did some steroids and denied it. Well, he came clean, man. Anybody that hasn't sinned, go ahead and speak up. But we're all sinners, man.
Very good. And where can fans follow you?
Instagram, Mark Coleman UFC. That's where I'm at most of the time. Facebook.